Here we are, and I'm so excited to have my next guest, Brocha Chana Metzger. She comes from New York, Manhattan, and I love the vibe that Manhattan gives. Hi, Brocha Chana, how are you?
Thank you, what an introduction.
Well,
wow.
You deserve it.
Thank you.
You grew up in Crown Heights.
Yeah.
For a girl growing up in Crown Heights, did you ever dream one day to be living in Manhattan, in the middle of Manhattan, Midtown Manhattan?
Definitely not. I mean, I loved visiting Manhattan. It was fun, it was exciting, holiday season. My parents would bring us there. My father worked there, but I didn't ever imagine actually living in the heart of it. We live right near Grand Central. You know, we're right in the middle of it.
So can you tell me how the Rebbe gave you and your husband, Midtown Manhattan?
So when my husband and I were dating, he was already involved in the Rebbe's work in that he was doing public service advertising for Jewish causes, Jewish holidays, Israel, etc., in the New York Times and on the subways, and ads on bus shelters, etc. He was very much involved. As a matter of fact, the Rebbe, prior to Gimel Tammuz, the Rebbe would often edit my husband's ads. He would
Gimel Tammuz is before the Rebbe passed away.
Yes. Before the Rebbe's passing, my husband was already doing that type of work in advertising. He had an office in Manhattan. And the Rebbe's Ksav Yad, his handwriting, is actually on a lot of the rough drafts of his ads. He was very much involved. The Rebbe was very detail-oriented. And my husband was a real soldier in a sense that he was always doing things, and the Rebbe said, never rest on your laurels, so he was always trying to do more. And an outgrowth of his work in advertising was a minyan that started in his Manhattan office. And so from that, it grew into people being, where should we be for Shabbos in Manhattan? And it blossomed into something that is way beyond anything we could have imagined, but I think the Rebbe envisioned it.
So it was natural that after he would get married, he would move to Manhattan?
Well, you know, obviously I really liked my husband, and thank God I still do. So I would have followed him to Timbuktu. I did not think I would be a shlucha, actually. When I was dating him, I realized that that's what he was going to do, and I was going to follow him, but I had no idea of what that meant.
So you were not, you were not sure that you're going to get married and be a shlucha. No, that was not your plan.
I had friends that were like, I only want to marry someone that goes on shlichas, and I was like, I want to be an interior designer. I can be a tour guide in a museum, anything. Like that, but I never imagined being a shlucha. My parents weren't on shlichas, although they were both in chinuch and Jewish education. But it wasn't that kind of family. There were families that were in shlichas, and it's not something that I thought I was able to do.
But you grew up with the Rebbe.
Yes, and that's what's incredible is that despite my not thinking I was cut out for the job, as I was on the job, you discover by osmosis how much you picked up from being in the court of the Rebbe, that environment, how much you don't even realize you have. And I think that applies to anyone in almost any area of our lives. They say we only use 10% of our brain power. And I would say it's comparable to the impact we can have on others. The Rebbe taught us, if you know Aleph, teach Aleph. And you know Aleph. No one's perfect, but you all have something to give, and never underestimate your own power. I did, but Hashem has a way of showing you can do so much more. And I've really, over these nearly 24 years, I've really learned that lesson.
So you've moved into Manhattan, you're a young couple, you're a young girl, and you look at yourself now, we look at yourself now, I've seen the videos, you'll see the videos also. You have events going on in Midtown Manhattan. You meet people from all walk of life. You meet very successful people. You meet famous people. And you are the soul of this Chabad house. I mean, you get up there, and I'm sure your husband has created everything, but you are a woman who literally picks herself up and gives a speech and talks. It's amazing for us women to see this. Tell us, what's the secret? How do you feel about it? How did you get to do this? Were you pushed by your husband?
Not at all. I wasn't pushed by my husband. It was a natural progression. As a woman, you sometimes may doubt your role, whether it's in Jewish life or in other areas. I mean, they still say there's a glass ceiling women need to break through. In the corporate world, in Hollywood, they even complain women don't get enough recognition or respect. So there are this natural hesitation sometimes, but the longer I'm at it, the more I see the necessity of a woman's touch. There are certain approaches that a woman has, especially as a hostess. We have people from all over the world coming to our Chabad house, that without a woman's touch, there's something lacking, and that is generally why shluchim is a couple. It's not just a man, a bacher, or just a woman. It's necessary as a couple. We each bring something to the table that's a very important dynamic. So the more I'm there, the more I see that if I'm not there for Shabbos and only my husband's there, people will tell me it was like missing something. And it's not me necessarily, but it's the feminine aspect that's so crucial. And you see this over and over in Judaism, where it's a couple, a team, a unit. And that's where Chabad Shlichus differs than like the typical rabbinical pulpit rabbi, where the wife is just coming along for the ride. We are co-directors. I will admit my husband works a lot more hours and sometimes needs to be reminded to come home. But in a sense that one cannot do the job without the other. We each bring something to the table that's necessary for the job.
Incredible. I love this. This breaks so many barriers of people thinking, that the rabbi, the shliach, is working and the wife teaches kindergarten, which is great. I love teachers and I love kindergartens, but they think that, women are, they're just doing this thing. And then you see a woman here who literally is getting up in front of, I'm not talking about Shabbos, I saw dinners, I saw events where you're getting up and you're just giving speeches in front of, a thick crowd of important people, and you're just, and you're raising kids. And you have a large family, I guess. How many kids do you have?
I have 4 children. It's funny, in Manhattan, people ask, are they all yours? That's considered a lot. If you go back to Brooklyn, it's not considered many. We didn't have children for a number of years, and we were finally blessed with children. And we are very fortunate. I don't feel like I only have 4, because when they're all home, it feels like there are 10. I miss those days. 2 of them are gone. 2 of them are still home. But Baruch Hashem, the issue isn't so much raising a large family as in raising a family in Midtown Manhattan.
Absolutely.
That's highly unusual. You don't have a lot of families where
How do you not get wrapped up in all that Manhattan? You get to meet a lot of people. Aren't you sometimes, maybe I could do this, maybe, I don't know, even your kids, like you keep on staying from Hasidish, determined, following the Rebbe's orders. It's not so easy in Midtown Manhattan. I mean, we're all human, no? We all have temptations, or your kids.
You know what? My kids definitely see things that the kids growing up either in Brooklyn or in the suburbs or pretty much anywhere else see. There are parades that are interesting, shall we say. There are all types of couples, people from all over the world. As a matter of fact, David Letterman once made a joke, the comedian, about how one of the top 10 things to do in New York is to take the Bible out of your hotel room drawer, that very often have Bibles there, and open it up to the 10 Commandments and cross the 10 Commandments off as you see them being violated. This is something to do in Midtown Manhattan. But actually, it's the reverse. When you have that level of exposure, you need that core value system more than anywhere else, and you're more grateful for it, truly. So my kids know what's out there, but they're not tempted, because we give them a core value system and they know this is temporary. Most of the people coming in there doing these things are people, what they call the bridge and tunnel crowd, tourists. But as on a day-to-day basis, you need a compass, a moral compass, a spine. And we have that in Judaism. We're very blessed.
So I guess what makes you successful in your mission is the fact that you are connected to the source all the time.
Yes, and I did not know that value as much as I have come to know it from being on shlichus. So, and I never imagined I would be a shlicha, as I mentioned. So it's never underestimate what you're capable of doing. And also, you can plan, as we say, a Mensch tracht und Gott lacht. And not that God is laughing, right. A person plans and God laughs. And not that God is laughing at you, He's encouraging you. He's saying, sweetie, you can do so much more than you think of. Don't limit yourself. we all, like I said, we use 10% of our brains. We also use probably only 10% of our abilities.
But what's your source that you're connected to, that keeps you going?
Well, it's Yiddishkeit. It's my husband, a strong marriage bond that helps. I can't say it's not. Also, I was fortunate. I was raised in Crown Heights. So as much as I didn't realize how much I was gaining from that, just being in the Rebbe's court, going to Beis Rivka, where I didn't realize, just by attending and living in that atmosphere, the Rebbe would empty the women's section of 770 and speak just for the women. I didn't know
Empty the men's section.
Yeah, empty the men's section.
And put all the women.
Put the women in the men's section and speak to them. I didn't realize that was unusual, that other Jewish leaders or Orthodox Rebbes may not do that. The Rebbe empowered women in an incredible way, and I'm still drawing on it, and memories will still come back to me of how the Rebbe describes a woman is a foundation. Not only is a woman being home not an insult, but it's actually the greatest show of confidence. You're here as a foundation for the future of the Jewish people.
What's the Rebbe for you?
I know it almost might sound sacrilegious, but the Rebbe is so human. The Rebbe understood, like people tell miracle stories about the Rebbe, and I have no doubt there are many of them. I think the Rebbe's humanity, the Rebbe's understanding of human nature is to me the most astonishing. That's someone who had knowledge in every area of life.
And you understand your mission. You were supposed to be in Manhattan. This is your place. What happened to your interior designing, your dream?
So here's what's very interesting. I thought, okay, goodbye to that part of my life. I'm going to have to put away my dreams. I get to use it a lot in my shlichus, in our Chabad. We purchased the building on Fifth Avenue a couple of years ago. I'm working on designs with that. I'm working with architects. This was my dream.
This is incredible.
Yes, and I'm getting to use it. Even when I make my Purim Shalach Manas packages, or I do an event and I'll set up for it. We'll have a dinner and I'll say, I want moss and I want this. I'm getting to use those abilities. We all have talents. And even if we might not use them in the way we had hoped, sometimes it's even better. You can apply it to almost any area of your life. So I'm getting to do both, but with so much meaning and value.
Incredible.
I feel very blessed.
Amazing.
Listen, I always say, we're not meant to live on top of a mountain. We're meant to live in the world and bring godliness into it. But there's no question that when you're on top of a mountain, you feel closer to the heavens when you see them.
But you can enjoy the view at the same time.
We can enjoy the view. We should enjoy the view.
Absolutely.
To see the world as God created it. There's nothing like it, really.
Who's the most incredible person you met?
Mrs. Gador. She was a Holocaust survivor who lost her only child in Auschwitz. She was pulled away from her and went with her mother-in-law. And she came to America and she built a life for herself, even though she was never able to have more children. And to me, the fact that for many years she didn't go to shul, and in her 80s started to go to shul again, and she said, soon I'm going to have to meet my maker.
Wow. What title would you give to this interview?
It's not what you think it is.
Love it. Love it. It's not what you think it is. So, if you're in New York and you find yourself stranded, there is Chabad of Midtown Manhattan. We'll put all the information out. Email, phone numbers, Rabbi Josh and Brocha Chana Metzger, Rebbe's and Brocha Chana Metzger. They will welcome you. You'll be stunned by what you see. Don't be shocked. And next time you see a Rebbetzin, don't, it's not what it is. Remember, this is the title of our conversation. So enjoy and have a great night. Thank you so much.